environment. If you think about it, it's completely logical. And the same with us. And so I think this can really explain why we're seeing a slow drift into more maladaptive traits, the traits that define personality disorders. And when I say traits, the best way to understand that is the 5-factor model. I know some people don't like it, but it is, we don't have a lot of good research in psychology, but this is one of them, located cross-culturally. It's very good research. And they describe traits along 5 dimensions. We've talked about this before. It's neuroticism, extroversion, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and openness. And under these traits lie a deeper system. Alarms, we have threat detection, reward seeking, bonding and affiliation.
Let's take a look at this for a minute.
And control and need to regulate everything. And these are evolutionary action systems that tell us when to flee, fight, when to attach to other people, and when to take risks. And all they do is want to guide us towards reproduction and survival. And so I think a very good way of thinking about personality disorders is when one or more of these systems are thrown into overdrive or left underdeveloped. And cluster B traits, they often reflect a hyperactive alarm system. So they're very sensitive to negative emotions. They're very afraid all the time, and a very underdeveloped affiliation system. So they have this extreme need for attachment. And so it's then obvious then when we outsource so much maternal presence, people with an excess of these action systems, the excess need for attachment and security, they will suffer more than others. And they learn.
But I thought they were independent. I thought the women right now were the most independent, boss bitch, bad bitch, authentic living. I thought they were the most independent they ever have been. I thought they owned the most houses, were the most entrepreneurs, graduated college the most. I thought they were just out here killing it, though. It's almost like they're out there gaslighting each other.
Very early in childhood that only through extreme emotional displays will I get what I need to be
like the stream, hype the stream,
calm. And then the next question is, when does this become a pathology? So over time, these maladaptive patterns will lead to them not being able to lead a normal life. And that is by definition a psychiatric pathology. You can imagine how vulnerable this diagnosis is to the bias of the observer. You know, for example, what are we to take as markers of impulsivity, for example, markers of...
What are we... So we already know that. Piercings, tattoos, dyed hair, dressing like a hoe, acting like a hoe, no class, no decorum. Credit card debt, vapid consumerism, lack of traditional values of cooking, cleaning, knowing how to do anything like that. We know what they are.
An inability to think long term, right? It used to be that tattoos would be that, or piercing your nose. If you go on TikTok, you know, all of these girls have pierced nose.
Nose ring. I can't believe I left that one out. The big ass stupid glasses that they always have. Probably wearing, you know, yoga pants. You know, they're at so the way they work out, they're at the gym basically flossing their clam with a cable machine and filming themselves. Short hair to get back at men, yeah. Well, the short hair is usually when they don't like their mother. For some reason, I've read that from like the CIA thing. It's saying like short hair is usually when they don't like their mother, but it doesn't help with men, and it definitely, you know, makes them seem like a lesbian. Again, if you see the butterfly tattoos or something, you know that they're just completely cooked.
And to me, I will take that as a marker of you not being able to think.
Also, like, they won't shave their armpits, you know, things like that.
Long term, but others won't. And today, these things are so normalized that we no longer see them as clinically relevant at all. And, you know, a lot of therapists themselves have tattoos everywhere. And this is problematic because they serve the same psychological function. You know, a tattoo is a way of coping with emotional pain in a physical way. It distracts from emotional pain. That's why they cut themselves. That's why, you know, they put their fingers down their throats to throw up their food. That's that's why we have the self-harm element of the disorder. It comes from a place of not being able to
I think it's a disorder.
To know what to do with your emotional pain, so you turn to physical pain. But if you are so ideologically biased that you refuse to...
Hang on a second. Yeah, you can put links in the chat, man. Yeah. I also have, let me put my Discord in here too. If you guys, you know, the Discord has some cool stuff. And I have a thing in the Discord that you can send me things like live on the fly too. And you guys, I just want more people to join the Discord anyways. We don't just do like cat memes there. I have a bunch of books and things like that. But yeah, no, this is an interactive show, so you guys can send suggestions of things like that. You know, I do like that we're being like, I'm going to swear and stuff like that, but if we can keep the language coded as much as possible, that helps me.
See piercings and tattoos and other forms of, or taking lesbian dance theory as a degree, and if you refuse to see that as a dysfunctional long-term planning, you know, of course a lot of women are going to go undiagnosed. So that's one element.
Yeah. But who are the modern therapists who are overlooking this and not taking it seriously? Women. I think like 75% of therapists are women. So they're not, you know, saying that all this hyper liberalism is like, oh, it's okay that she has green hair and you know, a demon tattoo on her face and hand. That's just she's just being hip. She is cool. Like, it's like, no, she has a demon tattooed on her hand. That's a big problem. That's a huge problem. You know, so that's part of their own fault that they're not saying like, hey, these are big problems. You know, they're mutilating themselves. They're doing all these body mods and everything. They're getting holes in their body. Pierced clit, pierced tits, pierced everything. That's not someone who's happy. That's someone who is so numb and dead inside that they have to feel pain to feel anything. That's kind of one thing that's going on there.
Of why the prevalence rate isn't officially recognized. Another is the ideological gymnastics that research...
It's not physically recognized, or it's not recognized in the way that she's saying, because these liberals are allowing it to become normalized. They're allowing the degradation of our society. They're allowing the standards to drop. They're allowing the degeneracy to occur so often. They're allowing, you know, the levels of class to drop, the decorum to drop. You know, normalizing drug use. Oh yeah, you can get high just on the weekends. That's fine, as long as you're not doing it at work. You know, it's okay if you get blackout drunk on your medication sometimes. You know, you took an Uber home. You know, you have an IUD, so you can just go bang around and do whatever you want. It's shit like that. And it's mostly women who are doing this. Sorry. If a guy is there saying like, hey, I don't think you should get blackout drunk and you know, do a bunch of substances this weekend, you know, you say this.
Drugs are bad, okay?
And they're saying, fuck you. You can't tell me what to do with my body, my choice. I'm not letting some white male tell me how to live. You say, okay. And then afterward, you kind of say this.
How about when this is over, we go do a little coke?
researchers do around this topic. The most commonly cited prevalence rate they use, 5.9%, comes from this NESARC study, 2008, where they ignore people who are just below the threshold. They ignore those who have.
So they ignore people who are just below the threshold. That means they're just sweeping it under the carpet. They don't want their stats to look bad. They don't want to see that they're failing. Women are failing other women. Pharmaceuticals are failing the women. The psychological tactics are failing the women. The liberalism is failing the women. The college is failing the women. The Sex and the City mindset is failing the women. All this bullshit.
Intermittent symptoms that still cause major dysfunction. They exclude overlapping symptoms with mood or substance issues. I mean, I don't think I've really seen any.
Yeah, see, that's what I just was saying.
Patients with this who don't turn to some substance abuse or another. And you can really make a good argument that substance issues are central to cluster B. These interviews, they're done by lay people who aren't used to talking to borderliners or histrionics, so they very easily miss.
Another good example of something that's like sort of a big yeah, you can send me the link, man. I think I can just go to the regular YouTube thing and look at it. But another thing too is festivals. Oh, I'm going to the summer festival. What are you gonna do there? You're gonna do drugs the entire time and bang dudes in like a tent as you listen to garbage ass music for like 20 hours a day. They're not psychologically ready for that. They're not going to be able to do that. That's a problem. That messes them up. You know, and then what ultimately happens at the end of all the hoeing, everything like that, you know, somehow they find Jesus. That's what happens. And we see it time and time again, and then they say they're reborn again. They're like reborn as some type of virgin. And they start getting into this shit. I haven't been doing any drugs and touching myself anymore. I'm listening to all this Christian rock bullshit. That's the cycle of it. And that's mostly to secure a simp guy after they, you know, are on the downward fall. Carlos writes in, I had a female therapist a few years ago that helped me through a lot of anger and self-sabotage issues. She was a Gen X lady. I know I got lucky she wasn't a feminist freakazoid. Yeah. Women can be good at therapy and everything like that. But, you know, she was able to give you like objective actions to take and real feedback. You also wanted to make a change too. Carlos, a lot of females a lot of these women that we're talking about that go to these things, they just go to it to say like, I'm going to therapy. I'm doing the best I can. Like, it's okay if I smoke crack this weekend because I'm in therapy. I'm working it out. I'm doing the work. It's like, well, what are you really actually doing? You're just going and like, you're not really like making any concrete changes and stuff like that. So females are kind of good, you know, empathizers, and they like, I think as a cop, like the best thing female cops are used for is not a lot, but they are pretty good at like conflict de-escalation and stuff like that. So it's a good point, Carlos. And again, too, part of this is a little bit more generational. You know, old school, you know, like your grandma, maybe your mom or something like that, who's not into all the social media and all that. They're going to give you a little bit more of traditional advice, a little bit more of like conservative advice, and that's usually kind of better in what you need to hear than you know, just gassing you up.